Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 6th of July, comes to you from London. And we'll start by looking at currencies, then stock indices, quite a bit of red in that direction this morning, commodities, some US tech stocks, and last of all, the energy mix. Remembering this is my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute chart, my long-term, medium-term, and short-term view of the market, and a new feature in Updata is we've actually marked those charts. So it automatically says long-term, medium-term, and short-term. So it just makes it really clear. And the corresponding point and figure price targets are unique to Updata, of course. So we start by looking at the dollar index. We are very much in this zone at the moment. The key levels, 105.90 and 108.80, that's the level. That's what we've got to watch, those levels for the break. And really, that's what it's all about. On the medium-term chart, the daily, we are just starting to climb above the cloud. Short-term, we're also looking a little bit better as well. So that's really quite key. If we look at the euro, we see here that the euro is just breaking through the cloud. Hasn't made that new high. Again, we're just waiting for that. And of course, we ran our poll earlier this week on which way the euro would break, and it was 50-50, slightly more people believing the euro would break to the upside. Looking at the dollar yen chart, this is really quite a good lead indicator for the dollar. This has broken out, suggesting dollar strength, although short term we are just seeing a move down there. So that's really quite interesting. And if again we look at sterling, remembering sterling's quoted the other way around, this is sterling strength against that dollar. Sterling just trending gradually higher on the spectre of higher interest rates in the UK, so we're looking stronger there as well. We do have an upside target to 130. We're sitting at 127 this morning, and an even bigger to 142, but we've just got to wait for that 130 area. If the sterling can go into the 130s, that will really show the strength. Bitcoin holding its strength as well, sitting at $31,000. A really big move this morning there. We've got these targets to 50,000, 54,000. They're in place. Again, our poll on Bitcoin showed 3/4 of the market believes Bitcoin will go higher. So really quite interesting there. And if we look at euro sterling, this is quite an interesting one as well. We're seeing sterling appreciating against the euro. There's nudging 117, the first time it's done that really for about a year, so looking quite strong there too. Taking a look now at the markets, we've got the Nasdaq looking strong, still bullish on all three time frames. 17.5% upside potential on the long-term chart, 7% on the medium-term, and short-term around 3% and another 7%. So it really does point to the Nasdaq going higher. We did fall back yesterday, and looking at the futures today, we are down about 0.5%. Report out that US interest rates could stay high for at least a couple of years is just putting a bit of a dampener on the market. And if we look at the Nasdaq, we see here we're also the future, we're also down 0.5%. FTSE future is up, down 1.2%, looking bearish there. Downside targets. Interestingly now, Apple in the US has a greater market cap than the whole of the FTSE 100 index in the UK. Really just shows the difference between UK stocks and tech stocks. And in fact, if I look at my UK stocks, it's been really hard to make money in the UK. We're seeing these long periods of sideways translation and uptrends, really hard to keep those trends going. Whereas if I look at my US tech stocks, they're just marching up the hill, less long periods of sideways translation. So that is really just an indication. And these are the top 8 US tech stocks that I hold. All of these have the best upside targets, and that's really the basis on which I've gone into them. And some of them are very large caps. Now, coming back to where we are in the market, we're looking at the DAX this morning. That's down 1% as well. So we're seeing sentiment pretty low there, down back below the cloud on the short term. We've got mixed targets creeping in there on the DAX, so really quite interesting. Still bullish above the cloud on the medium and long term. And we look at the CAC 40 in Paris, down 1.6 today, 1.6%. That's quite a big fall. So markets really are retracing. Japan was down 1.3%. This market's still looking very strong though. Big upside targets. And if we look at China, it's down 0.5%. And the Hang Seng really sold off, down 3%. Bearish on all three time frames. Bearish, 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 just really, really clear there. Looking at the Sensex in India, it bucked the trend up 0.5%, looking bullish, making new all-time highs, upside targets Everyone knows that I'm a fan of the Indian market. Just anything making new highs with big upside targets looks very, very strong indeed. Aussie down 1.25% down, not looking strong there, really just struggling to hold that cloud. So again, not a great looking market. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute. Just looking at some of the soft commodities, sugar is down 1%, having really run earlier this year. We're now giving up some of those gains. If we look at wheat, down 1% as well, just really now in bearish trends pretty clearly there as well. Gold is sitting at that 1920 level, really just can't get there. Struggled to get above 2000 on the long-term chart. We're back to below the cloud on that medium term. We've got a downside target back into the sort of 1700 area, so that's a little bit scary. This 1900 level is the one to watch at the moment. We go below there, look to 1800. That was the previous low back in March, so that's really what we're on the lookout for. Keep an eye on the short-term targets if you're trading gold. Silver sitting at $23, couldn't quite break that $25 level, so that's quite key as well. And if we look at the bond yields in the US, we see here just nudging 4% on the 10-year. That's the highest level since March, so that's starting to look more bullish again. We're unwinding downside targets. 4% is starting to look like a dead cert. We've got 4.13, 4.2, 4.19, and of course the biggie, which is 9%, implying that inflation is going to come back and bite. We mentioned tech stocks. Apple, I mean, just stellar, making new highs, really clear trend there. Amazon also starting to look very good for crossing the cloud, got upside targets. So it's all happening in the US. And of course, Meta's in the news with the launch of its new Tinder-esque platform, and looking pretty strong there, and that trend, and that recovery trend, very clear for Meta. Just a shortage of upside targets on the medium and long-term charts, which is a little bit worrying. Now, looking at the energy mix, we've got Brent crude and WTI up this morning. This is the daily and the 60-minute, medium-term and short-term charts. This is the very short term. This is the 1 minute chart. This is what the targets you look for today. This is what we used in the morning call. We were bullish today with these upside targets and above the cloud, both on Brent and WTI. US Natgas, we were bearish, below the cloud with downside targets. We have had a little bit of a relief rally just kick in since, which is why you've got to watch. And we are seeing this transition through the cloud on the medium-term chart, which is a bit more promising. Looking at emissions, we have called this bearish today. We are downside targets. We are below the cloud, making new lows. We called it bearish yesterday and bearish again today. We have had a little bit of a relief rally, but we're not holding on to that. We've got downside targets pointing there, really quite key, and we are below on the daily and on the 60 minutes, so we have to be aware of that. Looking at European gas, down 2%, 32 euros is the level to watch here. We were bearish again today, and we've fallen since that call this morning, first thing out to clients. And if we look at MBP, down 2.65%, 80 pence is the level here that we have to watch. We are still bearish below the daily cloud there. This little recovery, we've got to watch whether that unwinds. Is this going to be a failed recovery? That's the big question for gas traders. Last of all, we look at German power, looking a little bit better this morning. 135 is the key level here. 135 euros on German power. If we break below that, that is not good news for power. We went out as neutral. We are very much stuck in this range on German power at the moment. 135, 146, 147. That's the range. Got to wait and see which way we break. Watch those targets and keep an eye on the morning call. That's it for today. Until next time, happy charting. See you then.